لقد كان في قصصهم عبرة لأولي الألباب. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He mentions that within their stories, the stories of the prophets, and that which took place between them and their people is ibarah, lessons for those who possess understanding. لقد كان في قصصهم عبرة لأولي الألباب ما كان حديثا يفترى ولكن تفصيل كل شيء. Lessons that we take from the stories of the prophets, that which took place between them and their people, and other than the prophets, from the righteous, from the believers, those who were tested between that which, or in that which was between them and their people, from which we take lessons, durus and ibar. And from them, or from those stories, ashab al-ukhdud, the people of the ditch, or the ditches, those who dug those ditches and did what they did with the believers. The 85th surah within the Quran, where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He mentions in general, after swearing by the sama, was-samā'i dhāti al-burooj, the heavens that possess or hold those large and big stars, وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب نعم واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود قتل أصحاب الأخدود. Curse the ashab of the ukhdud, the people of the ditches. النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد. That fire that they fueled, naam, or that fire that they fed with fuel, naam, إذ هم عليها قعود, when they sat around those ditches that were filled with fire. وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود, and they were witnesses against themselves with regards to what they did to the believers, from throwing them into those ditches and throwing them into the fire. وما نقموا منهم إلا يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد. And there was no sin upon them except that they believed in Allah, the Mighty, the All Praiseworthy. This was their only sin. Allah Ta'ala He mentions this in the 85th surah in the Quran in general. It's brief. The detail of this has come in the Sunnah. In that hadith recorded by Imam Muslim, narrated by Suhaib radiyallahu anhu, wherein the Messenger of Allah he gave the detail, a lengthy hadith. And without going into all of those details, that which is known as the story, or that which took place between the boy and the king who had for himself a magician, and when that magician grew old, then he desired to pass on that knowledge of his magic to one who was younger. And so the king sent a young boy, who would go to this magician and learn this magic from him. But every time he would go to visit this magician, he would pass by a monk on his way, and he would hear what the monk would say, and he would like what this monk would say. And so he would sit with the monk. And this boy was a believer. He believed in Allah subhanahu, until again without going into all of the details, until the boy, Allah had blessed him with being able to, by the will of Allah, cure the sick. And so he was able to heal the blind and the leper and other than them, until one from the king's men, one who used to attend the court of the king, when he became blind, he heard of this boy. He heard about this boy. And so when he came to the boy, he came with gifts, and he said to him that if you cure my blindness, then everything that I have with me is yours. He said, I do not cure. It is not me who cures, but it is Allah. And if you simply believe in Allah and call upon Him and ask Him, He will cure you. And so this blind man who was from the court of the king, he did so and he was cured. And when he went back to the king, and the king had heard that the sight of this man had returned, he asked him, who cured you? He said, Allah, my Lord. He said, do you have a Lord other than I, the king? He said this to this man. He said, yes, Allah, my Lord and your Lord. My Lord and your Lord. And so the king tortured this man until he informed him of the boy. And upon this, he summoned the boy. So when the boy was brought to him, he said that your sorcery and your magic has reached this extent that you can cure the blind. He said, it is not me, it is Allah. And he likewise tortured this boy until he informed him of the monk. And then when the monk was brought before the king told him to leave his religion. He told him to leave and abandon his belief in Allah, to which the monk refused. And so he ordered that a saw be brought and placed in the middle of his head, and that he should abandon his religion. He refused, and so he was cut into half. The same was done to the king's man, the man who was blind at one point, one who was a courtier, one who was close to the king from the people of his court. He likewise told him to abandon his religion. And if he did not abandon his belief in Allah, then he would do the same to him. To which his response was the same. He refused to leave his religion. And so he was cut into half. The saw was placed on his head, cut into half. Then the king ordered that the boy be taken to the mountain. So he ordered some of his men to take the boy to the mountain. And that if he, on the way to the mountain, if he leaves his religion, then to leave him. Because the king was still in need of him. This king was one who claimed rububiyyah and uluhiyyah. He claimed lordship and desired to be worshipped. The magician that he had, he used trickery with the magician that he had working for him to trick the people. But given that this magician was becoming old, then remember he desired that this young boy become one who carries on the knowledge of that magician and that practice of the magician. And so then he continues to work for him, and so he can trick the people into worshipping him, the king. That is why he didn't rush to kill the boy. So when he ordered his men to take the boy to the mountains, he said that if he leaves his religion, then leave him alone. But if he doesn't, then take him to the top of the mountain and throw him off the mountain. And so when they were on this mountain, the boy, he made dua to Allah that he punishes these men with whatever he wills. And so Allah caused the mountain to shake, and the king's men fell off the mountain. And so the boy returned back to the king. And so the king, he asked what happened. And so the boy, he told the king as to that which had taken place. He then ordered another group of men to take him on a boat to the sea, and again give him the option to either leave his religion so then he can stay alive, but if he doesn't, then to throw him into the sea. And so they went out, and again they failed, and Allah Ta'ala, he caused the boat to capsize, and they drowned, the men. And the boy returned again back to the king, and all along the people can see, and the people are watching, and they know of that which is taking place between the boy and the king. Numerous attempts, and the king could not kill the boy. So the boy then, he said, you will not kill me except in the following way, that you take all of the people, you gather all of the people into such and such place, and then you take an arrow from my quiver, place it in the bow, and then say Bismillah Rabbil Ghulam, that you fire the arrow, and that you after you have tied me to the trunk of a tree, that you take my arrow, place it in the bow, and say Bismillah Rabbil Ghulam, in the name of Allah, the Lord of the boy. Remember, after numerous attempts in killing this boy, to which he did, that was done, and the arrow hit the boy in his temple, and he died. And upon this, the people who had been gathered and were there, they said, Amanna bi Rabbil Ghulam, Amanna bi Rabbil Ghulam, Amanna bi Rabbil Ghulam, 3 times. We have believed in the Lord of the boy. We have believed in the Lord of the boy. We have believed in the Lord of the boy. And so upon this it was said to the king, that which you feared has happened, and that which you went about to prevent has actually happened. You wanted to stop the people from believing in Allah, but you have brought it about, because now the people have believed in the Lord of the boy. And so upon this he ordered his men to dig ditches and to fill those ditches with fire, and to gather the believers, the Muslimin, to gather them and to bring them to the fire. Those who leave their religion are to be spared, those who do not are to be thrown into the fire. And this is what the surah is referring to. Until a mother was brought with her baby, and when she came close to the fire, she began to retreat. And so the child spoke and said, Ya Ummah, isbiri fa innaki ala al-haq. O mother, be patient, for indeed you are upon the truth.